When a sharp-tongued waitress and her indifferent manager encounter basketball legend Shaquille O'Neal, they learn from their own experience that he is the owner of their diner. He taught them a lesson in real hospitality. Keep reading to find out all the details. People loved coming to the sunny Side Up Diner because there was delicious food there. The little bell above the door didn't stop ringing all day, since it was Saturday and the place was crowded. All the tables were occupied. The waitresses were running around with trays full of food. One of the waitresses, named Evelyn, had short brown hair, bright green eyes, and a sharp tongue. She was doing her job well, but she was on edge that day. Evelyn was going through a difficult day. There were too many customers, and everyone wanted something right now. Someone asked for extra syrup, someone wanted to be given coffee, and someone complained that his toast was not crispy enough. Evelyn tried to keep her smile on, but inside she wanted to scream. When Evelyn was carrying a tray of pancakes to one of the tables, she noticed a very tall man sitting alone at a table in the corner. He was so tall that his legs barely fit under the table. The man was dressed in a simple t-shirt, jeans and sneakers, and he had a calm smile on his face. Evelyn did not recognize him, and did not realize that she was sitting face to face with greatness. It was Shaquille O'Neal, the famous basketball player. Evelyn also didn't know that Shaq had recently bought a diner, Sledge Site app. He liked it so much that he decided to become its owner. However, Step did not want to attach much importance to this. He wanted to see how this place worked without revealing who he was. So he decided to dress simply and quietly observe what was happening. For Evelyn, the Step looked like a person who wasn't going to order food. It annoyed her that he was just taking up space, because the diner was very crowded, and people were waiting for their turn at the table. She didn't want to waste time on someone who wasn't going to eat anything. Evelyn walked over to Shaq's table with a tray clutched under her arm. Her smile, which she gave to other customers, disappeared. "What can I bring you?" she asked in a sharp and impatient tone. Step looked up and smiled. "I'd like a cup of coffee, please," he said in a friendly voice. Evelyn frowned. "Just coffee?" she clarified. Step nodded. "Yes, just coffee." Evelyn sighed loudly. "Well, you'll have to pay for it in advance," she said. She didn't trust him to pay later. Evelyn thought, if he's not going to order a normal meal, I'm not going to waste my time on him. Shaq raised his eyebrows slightly, but didn't say anything. He reached into his pocket, took out some cash, and handed it to her. Evelyn abruptly took the money, nodded curtly, and went to pour him coffee. In the kitchen, she poured coffee, grumbling to herself. "Just coffee," she muttered. "On a day like today." She forcefully put the coffee pot on the counter, picked up a cup of hot coffee, and carried it to Shaka's table. Evelyn put the cup in front of him without saying a word, and left before he could thank her. As soon as she turned around, her frowning face was instantly replaced by a wide smile. She hurried to another table where the family needed ketchup. "Here you are," she said cheerfully, holding out the bottle. Then she went to another table where the customer needed more syrup for pancakes. "Of course, I'll bring it now," she said cheerfully. She was all smiles and cordiality with other customers. But when she looked at Shaq's table and saw him calmly sipping coffee, she rolled her eyes. Step noticed everything. He saw how kind and friendly Evelyn was with other clients, and how differently she treated him. But he didn't say anything, just sat there drinking coffee and watching the busy diner. Evelyn continued to run around the room, pouring drinks, taking orders, and clearing plates. The bell above the door kept ringing as more and more people came, and she felt like she was about to collapse from fatigue. But she forced herself to keep smiling. A man at one of the tables raised his hand and called her. "Miss, can I have some more coffee, please?" he said. Evelyn hurried over with a pitcher of coffee. "Here you are," she said happily, pouring coffee into his cup. "Thank you very much, you are the best waitress," the man said. Evelyn smiled at him. "Just doing my job," she replied cheerfully. Then Step raised his hand. He had finished his coffee and wanted more. He didn't call or wave his hand like the other man did, he just quietly raised his hand and waited. Evelyn saw it and her smile immediately disappeared. She sighed heavily, muttered something under her breath, and headed for his table. But she didn't take the coffee pot with her. She just stood in front of him with her arms folded. "What do you need?" she asked in a cold and irritated voice. The step remained as calm. He smiled, ignoring her rude tone. "Can I have some more coffee, please? I have a long day ahead of me," he said in his deep, calm voice. Evelyn rolled her eyes. "Long day, huh?" she muttered to herself, not even trying to hide her annoyance. And you won't believe what she said next. Evelyn said loudly enough for him to hear. "Well, I didn't ask for your biography." Step didn't say anything. He just waited patiently while Evelyn went to get the coffee pot. She noisily walked up to the counter, grabbed the coffee pot, and came back as if it was the heaviest thing in the world. When she walked up to Shaq's table, she didn't even bother to smile. Evelyn tilted the coffee pot sharply, but her hand was shaking, and hot coffee splashed out, flooding Shaq's pants, his shirt, and even getting a little on his face. Step gasped loudly and jumped up on the spot. His eyes widened in shock. "Wow," he said, his deep voice echoing throughout the diner. He grabbed a napkin and started wiping coffee from his clothes and skin. There was silence in the diner. All the customers stopped eating and talking and stared at Shaq. Some even gasped. But Evelyn didn't look the least bit remorseful. She just stood there with her hands on her hips, as if he had done something wrong. "You really should step aside," she said, her voice laced with sarcasm. Then she turned around and left, leaving Shaq sitting there, still trying to clean himself up. Step couldn't believe what was happening. He looked around the diner and saw how everyone was looking at him. Some looked shocked, others confused. They're sitting embarrassed for him. He felt a wave of heat, and it wasn't just hot coffee. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Step wasn't the type to make a scene, but it was too much. He got up slowly, shook off his pants, and walked over to the counter where the manager was standing. The manager, a short man with a shiny bald head and a badge with the inscription Mr. Jenkins, was standing there the whole time. He saw everything from Evelyn's rude attitude to the way the coffee spilled on Shaq. But as soon as the step came up to him, Mr. Jenkins quickly turned his back and pretended to be busy with some papers. That didn't stop Shaq. He walked right up to the counter and cleared his throat. "Sorry," he said politely in his deep voice, again attracting everyone's attention. Mr. Jenkins did not immediately turn around. He shuffled the papers in his hands, pretending not to hear Shaq. But when the step didn't go away, Mr. Jenkins finally sighed heavily and turned around. "Yes?" he asked, looking at Shaka with a strained smile. Step looked at him calmly but seriously. "I'd like to talk to you," he said. Mr. Jenkins raised an eyebrow. "About what?" he asked in a sharp and impatient voice. Shaq frowned slightly, but remained calm. "About what just happened," he said. Mr. Jenkins waved his hand dismissively. "I don't have time for empty complaints," he said, turning back to his papers. "We have a lot of work to do today." Step stared at him, his jaw tensing. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. First Evelyn, and now the manager. It was his diner, and he couldn't even get proper service. The room was still quiet. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what step he would take next. Step stood at the counter for a moment, looking at the manager who had just waved him off. Mr. Jenkins began sorting through the papers again, pretending that the step was not there. But instead of losing your temper, screaming or using force, you won't believe what he did. Step took a deep breath, trying to remain calm, and then returned to his table. Everyone in the diner continued to watch him. They all saw how Evelyn spilled coffee on him, and how the manager ignored him. Some began to whisper, wondering what Step would do next. Step reached for his bag, which was lying on the chair next to him. He pulled out a thick folder, the kind that usually holds important documents, and went back to the counter. This time he didn't stop until he was right in front of Mr. Jenkins. "Sorry," Shaq said in a firm but calm voice. Mr. Jenkins sighed heavily and looked up, clearly annoyed. "What now?" he asked. Step didn't respond right away. Instead, he opened the folder and placed it on the counter in front of Mr. Jenkins. "Maybe you should take a look at this," Stepp said, tapping on the documents inside. The manager frowned, confused, but leaned forward and began to read. His eyes ran over the text quickly at first, but then slowed down, and his face paled. His mouth opened slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come out. "These documents," Shaq said, his voice calm but firm. "They show that I bought this diner. I am the new owner of Sledge Sit-Up." Mr. Jenkins looked up at Shaq with wide eyes. "What?" he muttered. Stepp nodded. "You heard me," he said. "This diner belongs to me now." The manager's jaw dropped. "Me? I didn't know," he muttered, his voice trembling. "If only I knew." Before he could finish, one of the customers sitting nearby intervened. "How could you not know who Stepp is?" the man said, chuckling slightly. "He is one of the most famous basketball players in the world." Several other patrons nodded, and some even whispered it to Shaquille O'Neal, looking at him with admiration. Meanwhile, Evelyn, who was busy wiping a table at the other end of the hall, did not notice the fuss and came closer. She saw the folder on the counter, saw the stunned expression on Mr. Jenkins' face, and frowned. "What's going on here?" Evelyn asked, looking from Shaq to the manager. Then she turned to Mr. Jenkins and added, "This guy is causing trouble again." Before Mr. Jenkins could answer, Stepp looked at Evelyn, then back at the manager. "You didn't know who I was," Stepp said, his voice steady. "But this is not the main problem." Mr. Jenkins swallowed nervously. "What do you mean?" they asked, and he asked. Stepp turned slightly to look at both Mr. Jenkins and Evelyn. "The problem is," he said. His voice was calm but serious. "Is that how you treat people? Is that how you treated me? And, I assume, with other clients that you don't consider important enough?" Evelyn blinked, her face pale. "Wait," she said, her voice trembling a little. "What do you mean? Important enough?" Stepp raised his hand, stopping her before she could continue. "You don't need to explain," he said firmly. "I've seen enough today to understand how you run this place." Evelyn opened her mouth as if to object, but the Stepp looked at her with such a look that she fell silent. Then he turned to Mr. Jenkins. "You, the manager," said Stepp, his voice getting firmer. "You have to set an example. But you ignored what happened when Evelyn spilled coffee on me. You ignored me when I tried to talk to you. If you treat me like this, I can only imagine how you treat other people when no one is watching." Mr. Jenkins tried to say something, but Stepp raised his hand again. "It's not worth it," he said. Then the Stepp turned to Evelyn. "And you," he said, his voice calm but sharp, "you have to make people feel welcome here. That's what the waitress does. But instead you were rude, you spilled coffee on me, and didn't even apologize. And something tells me this isn't the first time you've treated someone like they don't mean anything." Evelyn's face turned bright red. She seemed to want to say something, but there were no words. No one could have predicted what step he would take next. He took a deep breath and looked at both of them. "I don't care if you apologize," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "You have shown me who you are. And these are not the people I want to see in my diner." Mr. Jenkins's eyes widened. "Wait, you don't want to say. Are you both fired?" Stepp said firmly. Evelyn gasped. "What? You can't." "I can." A Stepp interrupted her. "And I just did." Both Evelyn and Mr. Jenkins spoke at the same time. Their voices were full of panic. "Please give us another chance," Mr. Jenkins said. "We didn't want it to happen again," Evelyn quickly added. Stepp shook his head. "It's not just what you did to me," he said. "It's about how you treat people in general. If you can't respect the customers who support this place, You don't belong in this business." The room became so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. All the customers were watching, their eyes wide open, while Step stood there, tall and calm. And Evelyn and Mr. Jenkins froze in shock. The next day, Step walked into the diner dressed in a formal suit. He looked completely different from yesterday, when he was in casual clothes, and the staff immediately noticed it. They straightened up, trying to figure out why he had come. Step gathered everyone for a meeting. The new staff and the few remaining employees sat down, curiously waiting for what he would say. Step smiled at them, but his voice was serious when he started talking. "Hospitality is respect," he said. "This is the ability to treat each client with kindness and care, regardless of who they are and how they look. This is a diner, a place where people come to feel welcome and enjoy delicious food. And it all starts with you." The staff listened attentively, while Step explained how important it is to make each customer feel special. He shared stories about how great service can change someone's day, and how a little kindness can make a huge difference. "We're going to do things differently," Step said. "We will treat everyone as if they matter. Because they really have." Over the next few weeks, Shaq actively worked to improve the diner. He introduced training programs where the staff learned to meet customers with warm smiles, calmly solve complaints, and make everyone feel comfortable. Step himself participated in some training, showing employees how to handle difficult situations with dignity. He also hired a new manager, a man who really cared about the customers and wanted to help the staff show their best side. Together with the manager, Step brought several new employees, friendly and ready to learn. They quickly became part of the team, and all started working together to make the diner a more joyful place. Customers noticed the changes almost immediately. The staff became kinder and friendlier, always smiling and ready to help. The food tasted better when it was served with such warmth. Regular customers began to come more often, and new ones began to appear after rumors of excellent service in the Sled site app. One afternoon, a few weeks later, Step was sitting at his usual table by the window. He drank coffee and watched the employees move quickly, but with big smiles on their faces. Customers were laughing and chatting at the tables, clearly enjoying the atmosphere. Step leaned back in his chair, feeling proud. The diner has ceased to be just a place to eat. Now it was a place where people felt at home, where they were treated with respect and kindness, regardless of who they were. Step knew the changes were worth it. He smiled as he watched the waitress hand the little boy a balloon, along with his pancake breakfast.